When I first saw Neon Genesis Evangelion, I knew only one other person who had heard of it. In what must easily be one of my top 10 most embarrassing memories, I brought the Death and Rebirth DVD to school to show the Beethoven's Fifth scene to my music class. Mercifully, I've forgotten what I said to bring them up to speed before subjecting them to what must have been a bewildering and meaningless action scene. What I do remember was a classmate saying, "He looks like the guy in Pokémon," and me, wanting to prove that this wasn't Pokémon, skipping to the Oscar hospital scene. "He's wanking," I said. "Why?" they asked. I didn't have an answer for them. All that mattered was the Squirtle Squad were nowhere to be seen. The next student had brought in Grease, and everyone, unsurprisingly, enjoyed that more. You see, before everyone moved online, it was a lot easier to have a one-on-one relationship with the things you watched, read, or listened to. Especially with anime, which wasn't getting much exposure on Irish television. Nobody was coming into school saying, "Anybody see Goku Midnight Eye last night?" Not even the renegades over at TV3 were going to air anime. This meant that you had to take whatever it was you were lucky enough to stumble upon. You weren't picking and choosing what you want to watch like you do with such ease today. You were watching 3x3 Eyes because it was that or nothing. Riding Bean? Yeah, sure. Now, I'd never claimed that this was a better way to discover media, but it was nice that it felt like something you'd found when you caught something good. Today, if you find out about something, it's because hundreds, if not thousands of people are already talking about it. You're joining a party, and chances are, you're late. Evangelion is definitely a show that I think benefits from being a personal experience, which is why the announcement that it was coming to Netflix made a small voice deep down inside me say, "Oh no." Let me say right here that this is not me complaining about my secret show being exposed to the world. No. I'd like everyone to see Evangelion. And listen, I have stood in a queue for 4 hours in the rain to see a 4D Evangelion experience in an Evangelion section of a theme park where they sold Evangelion churros. Believe me, I'm not trying to keep this little indie darling from going mainstream. So if everyone already knows the show, why did the Netflix announcement feel different? I think perhaps it was just hitting me how the experience of watching things has changed. The act of putting on a video or DVD of your own and watching it is a solo act, but watching something that's been recently added to Netflix feels like a solo act within a community. YouTube is the same. You can watch it alone, but the comments and view count will serve as a constant reminder that there are others watching with you, just over your shoulder. Add the noise of social media and vloggers to the mix, and suddenly your room is full of people. The time frame to enjoy something alone is so small now, and you gotta watch everything the moment it comes out or be spoiled, usually by a really rubbish meme. And even if you do see it right away, how much time do you get to ruminate on it? While you're taking 5 minutes to mull it over, the internet has already decided if it was any good and has a list of 107 things it did wrong. Did you understand the ending, by the way? Got you covered. For God's sake, don't think about what the ending meant to you. Just watch this ending explained video and move on to the next thing, quick, before you miss that next window. Chances are nowadays that your reaction to media is more likely to be a reaction to the media. You'll probably end up having an opinion on shows you've never even seen. I never did see the ending of Game of Thrones, but I sure do know how I should feel about it. I have technically spent more time thinking about the Friends reunion than about my own retirement. It's still strange to me that there's a huge amount of people out there not even bothering with source material at all and live for videos about source material. I know folk who can't be convinced to watch a 90-minute movie, but they'll sure as hell watch a 5-part YouTube series which spends 10 hours explaining why that same movie was bad. What gives? I guess YouTube is just less of a commitment? Something to watch in the background because, hey, you can't truly relax unless you're doing at least 2 things at all times, right? Another change the internet has brought about is nobody can ever be left wanting for entertainment now. Never again will anyone have to watch The Pagemaster 100 times because it's their only video. God, when I think back to how I rinsed the handful of DVDs I had, not only rewatching them, but watching every feature and listening to the commentary tracks more than once. I mean, that's sick. Now it feels like there are 100 things fighting for my attention at all times. I couldn't possibly re-watch a show's commentary tracks while an endless sea of stuff tugs at my sleeves. There was a time when I would watch something and it was just me and that something. Now it feels more like being alone in a cinema, but each seat has the spectre of another viewer in it. What do they think of it? Will they think badly of me if I say I like it or hate it? How honest should I be? How open should I be about my feelings? Do they even want to hear them? How do I feel about their feelings? And does all this ultimately boil down to nothing more than siding with popular opinion or being contrarian? To put it another way, there is now an instrumentality of opinion. Even if I keep my thoughts to myself, these thoughts will have been shaped by the thoughts of others, or at least what I think others think. Oh boy, this is really starting to sound like an Evangelion review. Speaking of which, while I have you here, I might as well talk about the show itself and not just how our relationship to the media we consume has changed with the rise of the internet. There's usually a few years between each time I return to the Evangelion series, and each time I do, I go back thinking, I'm probably too old for it now. After all, that's how I feel about practically everything else I discovered at that age. I did listen to Limp Bizkit. I paid for an album called Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavoured Water. Can I really trust myself? And yet each time Evangelion survives the Purge of Corinthians because it's really, really good. Yeah, I know, another big fucking shocker from the Infinite Review. Did you like my video about how Final Fantasy VII was a good game? Subscribe today and make sure you're notified when my seasons 1 to 8 of The Simpsons were funny bombshell drops. What can I say? I love to ruffle feathers. The fact that Evangelion is such a massive cultural phenomenon always makes me feel like there's more of it than there really is. Every rewatch I'm amazed by how lean it is. 26 short episodes, 2 of which are basically clip shows, and a movie which is only a little over an hour long, once you skip the credits in the middle. And that's it. Is it any wonder practically every episode feels like iconic scenes one after another? It simply doesn't hang around long enough to stray too far into disposability. In recent years, the concept of leave them wanting more seems to be long gone. Brand recognition means cash, so if people want more, they'll get it. Hell, even if they don't want more, they'll still get it. Everybody looking forward to that new season of Frasier, yeah? It is a testament to how well realised the characters of Evangelion are that 25 years of being icons hasn't made them boring to watch. We've seen these characters aped many times over the years, and yet they still feel unique. I first saw Evangelion long before seeing Shinji on a bag of Doritos, Rei on a carton of fruit juice, the official Asuka Fender guitar, Gendo Ikari selling razors, or the Kaoru Nagisa exfoliating face mask. For the record, I have bought 2 of the aforementioned products. Today, the cast of Evangelion are treated as fashion models. The overexposure and over-commercialization of these characters runs the risk of damaging their impact within the show itself. But it hasn't. When Unit 2 leaps from battleship to battleship, when Shinji takes that first step into Misato's apartment, when Unit 1's dummy plug system is activated, all that tacky merchandise is far from your mind because the story works, and that's mostly thanks to the characters. Evangelion runs the risk of collapsing under its own weight by mixing together mecha anime, the meaning of life, death, depression, the pain of being known, isolation, parenthood, science, religion, the soul, and a penguin. And let's face it, at some point you're going to feel a little left behind during all those conversations about the Chamber of Guff, and Adam, and Lilith, and Lilin, and Linlithgow, and Nebuchadnezzar. So having clear and relatable character arcs to cling to keeps you on board. Oh, and it also helps that the action scenes are, well, freaking awesome, dude. If you haven't seen Evangelion, there's a strong chance that you already have some preconceptions about it. You've probably seen a bunch of screenshots, fan art, heard the music, maybe even watched a YouTube video about it that spent most of its runtime not actually talking about it. When the Netflix announcement trailer is literally flashing the words, one of the most beloved, influential, critically acclaimed anime of all time, it becomes pretty hard to not go in with high expectations. All I did was pick it up one day instead of Tenchi Muyo. And while I do feel lucky to have seen it before the online cacophony filled my head, please don't think that I'm trying to say that I saw it the right way and everyone after me missed out. The show hasn't been ruined by memes or merch, people talking about it on the internet, or even its own hype. And I do think, ultimately, it's a good thing that nobody has to feel alone with their interests anymore. Whatever it is, you'll easily find a community to share them with. I just feel it's a shame that there's no longer an option for us to close that door and enjoy something alone, unless you go watch it in a shed with no Wi-Fi. In the face of Evangelion's overwhelming success, there is a temptation to be somewhat dismissive of it. You won't get far on the anime discussion forums without making it clear that it's not that good, but I'm not trying to impress those people. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I already admitted to paying for Limp Bizkit's music, but I just can't knock a show that has meant so much to so many people. Even now, there is a lot I'm holding back. This script was 3 times longer before I decided to show you, the viewer, some mercy. Those feelings will remain mine alone until all our hearts are one. And even if the next rewatch of Neon Genesis Evangelion fills me with the same embarrassment and regret as Fred Durst's lyrics, nothing will change the fact that there was an evening when the final episode was something I really needed at the time. I'll always have to be thankful for that. My verdict? Watch Gunbuster, it's much better.